I've made some inquiries into the Imperial Court. The sooner we deal with the threats to the Empress, the better. The political situation in the Empire is dangerously unstable. It will complicate matters.
Everything in the Empire complicates matters. It's the Orlesian national pastime.
Turn your nose up at the grand game if you like, Commander, but we play for the highest stakes, and to the death.
The Court's disapproval can be as great a threat as the Venatori. We must be vigilant to avert disaster.
Exactly what do you mean? How is it more dangerous than usual?
The Empress is in the middle of a civil war. Her cousin, Grand Duke Gaspard, seeks to take her throne by force. Leliana reports that a group of elves has been sabotaging both armies, drawing out the hostilities. Orlais holds Tevinter at bay. All of Thedas could be lost if the Empire falls to Corypheus. Celine is holding peace talks under the auspices of a grand masquerade. Every power in Orlais will be there. It's the perfect place for an assassin to hide.
Does Celine know about the threats against her? Can we send word?
I've sent messages to the Empress, but it's impossible to know if she's received them. I'll arrange for an invitation at your discretion, Inquisitor. Inquisitor, I was just inspecting our new headquarters. Foundation cracks, nesting animals, and miles from any centers of civilization. The staff must make it presentable if we're to receive any visitors of distinction.
It certainly wouldn't do for the Inquisition to appear overly shabby.
We've only just now convinced everyone we are precisely what Thedas requires. The mages are showing great trust in you. They need to feel safe here.
Do you not feel safe here?
I've had difficulty forgetting Corypheus's attack on Haven. Do you know who first leapt to arms? Our workers. They were so proud of our cause. Corypheus simply cut them down. So much screaming after that first blast of fire. So many people turned to ash.
Corypheus will pay when I face him again.
I dearly hope. Well, before I return, I will now bring diplomatic issues to your attention, and I'm more than happy to help with any situations that arise.
You don't have to be so formal just because I'm Inquisitor now, Josephine.
Our allies and guests should see you treated with every courtesy, Inquisitor, especially considering... Fortunately, after your courage at Haven...
What?
Greetings.
I'd be interested in hearing your opinions on elven culture.
I thought you would be more interested in sharing your opinions of elven culture. You are Dalish, are you not?
Yes, I am. The Dalish are the best hope for preserving the culture of our people.
Our people. You use that phrase so casually. It should mean more, among other things.
Oh, but you know the truth, right?
While they pass on stories, mangling details, I walk the Fade. I have seen things they have not.
The Dalish are trying to restore elven history. If you...
Would your clan listen to what I had learned in my study? Or would they mock the Flatir and his stories and go back to their ruins? At least you were asking. But here's something. I will answer as I can.
Are all Dalish elves like my clan?
No. Your clan was unique in having enough interest in human affairs to send you to spy upon the divine. As your clans have been separate for so long, Some are no more than bandits. Others trade freely with humans. And some have disappeared entirely into the forests. The culture in alienages or among the slaves of Tevinter is like any of the... They cling to memories of a better past, and practice a few rituals to distinguish themselves from humans.
Is the magic they teach in the Circle
No and yes. Magic is magic, just as water is water, but it can be used... Dalish magic is more practical, not needing chantry approval, although they still frown on blood magic. Superstition, much of it is more subtle. A legacy from when elves were immortal.
The legends of elven immortality.
No. It was simply part of being elven. The subtle beauty of their magic was the effect, not the cause of their nature. Some spells took years to cast. Echoes would linger for centuries. It must have been beautiful.
You said that the censure against blood magic was a
I did. It's fortunate Cassandra is not within earshot. Most modern cultures forbid blood magic. Publicly, even Tevinter disapproves of it. But as I said, magic is magic. It matters only in how it is used.
I'd be interested in...
I would teach you if I knew it. Unfortunately, using blood magic seems to make it more... You understand why I never bothered to learn it. A shame, as it is extremely powerful, provided it remains a tool, not a crutch, nor a passion.
I'd like to know more about the elves.
The Dalish strive to remember Hallam Sharal. But Hallam Sharal was merely a fumbling attempt.
Arlathan.
Elvanan was the Empire, and Arlathan its greatest city. Place.
You've studied ancient elves.
We hear stories of them living in trees, and imagine instead spires of crystal twining through the branches. Imagine beings who lived forever, for whom magic was as natural as breathing. That is what was lost.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
Greetings, Inquisitor. That is your title now, yes? I should thank you. The way things ended in Redcliffe, yet you chose to make us equal partners. I was not expecting that.
Having you here willingly can...
Fair enough. I've been a Grey Warden, Grand Enchanter, leader of a rebellion, and now... Odd where fate takes you, as you're no doubt well aware.
You were once a Grey Ward.
Mine is an unusual. Normally one is part of the Order until death. But long ago, they tried to reinitiate me, but nothing worked. So I was sent to the Circle of Magi, the first Warden ever to be kicked out.
You sound happy.
Becoming a Warden seemed like a Towards the end, however, my brothers and sisters, they felt It also made me unique in the Circle. I had an opportunity to do more than I ever could as a warden.
You mean you began the Mage Rebellion?
I pushed for our vote to free the Circles of Magi. Still, despite all the chaos, I would do it again. What happened?
You're not still the Grand Enchanter, then?
Any claim I had to the title ended along with the Circles of Magi. Perhaps the Circles will one day be resurrected. Until that time, I lead my fellow mages by default.
You believe they'll recreate the Circle of Magi after all this?
It depends on who the next divine is. And what... We can't go back to the way things were. That is why I agreed to Justinia's conclave. There must be enough...
I've been meaning to ask. How exactly
Mages constantly found their way to us while... I had no way of knowing somewhere. They spread whispers, encouraged talk of an I'm not proud of our choice. But we were certain Templars were coming. It could have ended far...
I trust everything is well with the mages.
There have been a few scuffles with your Templars. But overall, it is going well.
I'll leave you to it.
Greetings to you, Inquisitor. I am to serve as assistant to... You'll find my skills are exceptional. I hope they prove...
You're taking over the...
Yes. She said she was needed.
What is she doing?
I wasn't told.
How can...
I am...
What makes you particularly qualified?
I remember being fond of animals. I don't remember why.
You were made tranquil.
Yes, I am tranquil. I remember that being a difficult time, but I cannot remember why. My skills are well used in my current...
What is your evaluation of how we're doing?
Not optimal, given the facilities. Skyhold should be improved, or our effort...
As you were.
Yes, Inquisitor.
Sister Leliana will want access to the birds. Get the cages up here. Quickly.
I'm sorry.
So am I.
The names of those we lost. You must blame me for this.
We all saw who attacked us. We know exactly who to blame.
I keep wondering if I could have done something different. When the first of my lookouts went missing, I pulled the rest back, awaiting more information. If they'd stayed in the field, they could have bought us more time. I was afraid to lose my agents. And instead, we lost Haven.
More likely, they would have stayed out there, died, and we would have lost Haven anyway.
You don't know that. Their lives could have bought Haven a small chance. My people know their duty. They know the risks. They understand that the Inquisition may call upon them to give their lives.
Our people aren't tools to be used and discarded. Your instincts were right. Their lives matter.
Can we afford such sentimentality? What if Corypheus...
We're better than Corypheus.
Your open support for the mages likely earned you enemies. Our agents will monitor the situation. If the most opposed can be identified, we may still turn this to our advantage.
You're not planning assassinations, are you?
I was planning to unleash Josephine on them. She kills with kindness. Regardless, I applaud you for the courage to stand up for the mages.
In Redcliffe, you sacrificed yourself so that I could return here.
Of course I did. One small life in exchange for a second chance at history. I always loved a bargain.
It was still a sacrifice, and still noble.
And I would do it again.
The Divine's death hit you hard. How have you been feeling?
Oh, you are referring to my outburst in the Haven. She was a good friend. But thank you for asking. It is appreciated.
They called you the left hand.
That they did? What of it?
I could use the left hand of the Divine at my side out there.
Every agent out in the world is my eyes, my ears. Coming with you, leaving my post, would blind and bound me. Do you see?
What if...
A Divine always has enemies. I watched, had an ear to every door. I identified threats, and I dealt with them.
Why did Justinia have so many...
There were many who felt she was unfit to be Unlike many, she wasn't given to the Chantry as a child. She chose it. And because they thought she was unworthy, they wished her harm.
It sounds like you did some unscrupulous things as the left hand.
Perhaps, but wouldn't you do anything to protect what you love?
I'd like to hear about Justinia. What was she like?
A friend. It made her human. I think her followers responded to that.
Was there something more than friendship between you?
You're asking if we were lovers? Typical. I was Love is common. Love is simple. My bond with Justinia was something great. She was a sister, a mother, a teacher. So to answer your question, yes, it was more than friendship.
How did you and Justinia meet?
I met her a long time ago. When I met her, she was Mother Dorothea. No, wait. She hates it when I say that. I saved myself. She just showed me it was...
We'll talk more later.
So, Inquisitor. It is Inquisitor now, right? Remember that war we talked about stopping? Full of little baddies I can stick with little arrows. That's not a friggin' archdemon, is it? Droste, what did I step in?
Odd that you'd ask Andraste over your own gods.
My gods? Whatever. They don't talk any more than she does. Not like she's supposed to. I know what happened to you, or what everyone here thinks happened. It seems... I don't know what it seems.
I can't help you if you don't explain what's wrong exactly.
It's got to be nonsense, doesn't it? We're kind of screwed if it isn't. I mean, that Carriffy thing. A Magister, right? Story is, he cracked the Golden City. But that's a hazy dream. If not, seat of the Maker, real thing. A seat needs a butt, so the Maker, real thing. Fairy stories about the start and end of the world. Real things. It's too much, isn't it? How pretty are you that I actually think this shite is possible?
I like to hear this. The pretty part, not the overwhelmed by everything part.
Oh, sure. Don't mind the bung ripped through the heavens, love. Primp and toss and all is well. What I want is to get everything back to business as usual. A nice, simple system with simple problems. Helps me, helps people, helps you. In that order. For now.
You're starting to not sound completely crazy.
I know. Scary, innit? Thanks for all this, and I'll see you here. Right? Yeah? Well, you're here.
What do you think about the people who have gathered?
Which? The ones who do things, or the ones who give orders?
What do you think about our spymaster, ambassador, and commander?
Liliana is pretty in places. Swear I've seen her too. Or heard she used to play. But that'd be mad. Now Josephine, she's as good at humbling her kind as I am. Just with less mess. No. And Cullen. I suppose if you want a jackboot, you get a big one so you can grow into it.
Thoughts about Cassandra?
Not as buttoned up as she plays, right? Tough, though. I'd stand behind her in front of anything.
What about Solus?
Solus? His head's crammed up 1,000 years ago.
Anything to say about Varric?
Varric? Too clever. Always saying something, but never saying it straight.
What about Dorian?
He's fun. Could lose a bit more to Vinta.
What's your opinion of Vivienne?
She's a bitch, but she knows. She better.
Any thoughts about Warden Blackwall?
He's too good, right? I'd like to see him out of that uniform. Not like that.
We'll talk later.
Good, right? I'll be here.
What a fascinating life you lead, my dear. First you fall out of the Fade, then you're attacked by an archdemon. If you wanted more public attention, you could have just held a ball.
I didn't do anything. Corypheus is the one who attacked us.
Doing nothing is exactly your mistake, my dear. You left yourself vulnerable to attack. It was a miscalculation, one that I'm sure you won't repeat. But the enemy struck a serious blow against you and the Inquisition. We must recognize that. You must.
You're wrong. We now have a better location and far more people at our disposal. This couldn't have worked out better if I'd planned it.
Yet we can hardly rely upon the whims of Providence to give us all our victories. This defeat may have turned to our advantage, but it will not last long. Our enemy advances, Inquisitor. We must not sit idly by. Act first and teach them to fear us. You can become the leader the faithful require, but you must do it soon. Yes?
Is there anything I can do to help your efforts at restoring the Circle?
After the circles fell, 1,000 years of... I've received news that some tomes have been located, if you are interested in righting this wrong. If you can take care of this matter... Yes?
I wanted to ask you...
Of course. What do you wish to know?
So, this is Skyhold. Come, let's walk the ramparts. I want to examine our fortifications. We'll be able to see Corypheus coming from miles away.
Corypheus thinks we're beaten. By the time he finds us, we'll be Legion.
I know soldiers. I know our soldiers. Corypheus made 100 enemies when he kicked down our door. And when he came after you, he really made it personal. I swear I'll take that twisted bastard down, even if I have to die to do it.
I'm not losing anyone to Corypheus. Especially not you.
You can't afford to think I'm special. I'm a soldier no different than any soldier lost at Haven. I am fond of you, it's true, but we can't let this go any further. This, whatever you want this to be, is impossible.
Why is it impossible? I know you have feelings for me.
My lady, don't. You're the Inquisitor, the Herald of Andraste. Even now, there are people flocking to your banner ready to serve, to die. We must remain focused on the task at hand.
I care for you just as much as I do them. Can't you just accept it?
I wish it were simple, believe me I do, but it's not. We're both bound by duty. Our lives aren't ours to live. Don't make this harder than it has to be.
Inquisitor, meet Hawk, the champion of Kirkwall.
Though I don't use that title much anymore.
Hawk, the Inquisitor. I figured you might have some friendly advice about Corypheus. You and I did fight him, after all.
This view reminds me of my home in Kirkwall. I had a balcony that overlooked the whole city. I loved it at first. But after a while, all I could see were the people out there depending on me.
You're lucky it was just a single city. I've got half of Thedas.
You're doing everything you can to protect them.
Does it ever get any easier?
I'll let you know. I don't envy you, Inquisitor. But I may be able to help you.
Varric said that you fought Corypheus before.
Fought and killed. The Grey Wardens were holding him, and he somehow used his connection to the Darkspawn to influence them.
Corypheus got into their heads, messed with their minds, turned them against each other.
If the Wardens have disappeared, they could have fallen under his control again.
If that's what happened to the Wardens, do you think we can free them?
It's possible. But we need to know more first. I've got a friend in the Wardens. He was investigating something unrelated for me. His name is Stroud. The last time we spoke, he was worried about corruption in the Warden ranks. Since then, nothing.
Corypheus would certainly qualify as corruption in the ranks. Did your friend disappear with them?
No. He told me he'd be hiding in an old smuggler's cave near Crestwood.
If you didn't know about Corypheus, what were you doing with the Wardens?
The Templars in Kirkwall were using a strange form of lyrium. It was red. I'd hoped the Wardens could tell me more about it.
Corypheus had Templars with him at Haven. They looked like they'd been exposed to the lyrium you describe.
Hopefully my friend in the Wardens will know more.
I appreciate the help.
I'm doing this as much for myself as for you. Corypheus is my responsibility. I thought I'd killed him before. This time, I'll make sure of it. Inquisitor.
You said you thought you killed Corypheus.
The Grey Wardens had him imprisoned. They used my father's blood in a ritual to see, but he could still reach out and influence the Warden's thoughts. And I didn't just think I killed him. When the maybe his tie to the Blight somehow brought him back. Or maybe it's old Tevinter magic. But he was dead. I swear it.
And where did you go after the mages rebelled?
I heard the Chantry might be sending an exalted mark. I hoped that leaving would save lives and force the Divine to divide her forces to come after me. As it turned out, I needn't have bothered. All the circles started rising up, and the exalted march never came.
Varric said you were the champion of Kirkwall. I've only heard a little about what happened there.
Fearful of blood magic and abominations. And in their desperation to survive, the mages of the Circle turned to blood magic, or became abomination. Finally, a rebel mage named Anders destroyed Kirkwall's Chantry, and everything came tumbling down.
I heard that Anders was your friend. What was he like?
I don't know if there ever was just an Anders. He was crazy. By the end, there was nothing left in him except this insane need to...
I heard you had family and friends in Kirkwall. Where are they now?
When the Wardens began acting strangely, I had my friend Aveline take my uncle Gamlen's still in Kirkwall. But everyone else I used to know, they've pretty much...
I assume Varric's been feeding you information about the Inquisition. What did he say about me?
Only good things, I promise. I was a little surprised, actually. Varric isn't one for religion in general, but he thinks highly of the Inquisition.
We'll talk later.
I'll meet you at Crestwood.